So we've got the car, it's a Ford Mach-E extended range. It's got a range of about 330 miles and the goal is to drive it from the UK, starting in Brighton, over to Les Alps in France. So let's see how we go. Right, so a key part of this, with 5 of us travelling, 2 adults, 3 kids, is there enough room for storage? Well, we managed to get ski stuff for 5 people in here. There's only 1 pair of ski boots, but we've packed it fairly full and there's still space to fit in, so I would say that is a good amount of storage. The advantage of the electric car is you have your frunk. There is no engine in there, so there's lots of extra storage. We've got charging cables here for along the way, but we've also got our key essentials that you may not be able to get in France, such as your Yorkshire tea and your good quality ketchup and some porridge for breakfast. Yeah, I do own a Tesla, so I'm quite used to the kind of concept of the electric car, but like the Tesla, you've got a screen here which has all of your details in it. You can get your settings for the car, etc., for all of the different elements of it, and you can put it onto the radio, Bluetooth it to your phone, etc. Use it for the map to program in everything where you're going. There's also lots of additional information in here for tracking down the local the nearest chargers, etc. So I think we've got on here, we can have a look and it'll tell us all the nearest chargers are. It's a very useful way of doing it, a lot easier than looking it up on your app, which are other ways of doing that. You've got presets which you can set up in the system for seating. So if I press that, oh, I'm going to get into my wife's position, going to squeeze my legs a little bit, or I can just go back to my preset, which I did through the screen. Bit more comfy and lots of space for the legs. And it's got 330 official range. You can see it's on 285 at the moment, 88%. I'll be paying really close attention to those numbers during this journey and logging them all down so we can see whether or not those work in real life or what the actual differential is. So eventually we arrived at Flexi Plus in Folkestone, Eurotunnel. Bit of a long journey. We took a cross-country route because Operation Brock is in place and M20 is closed in different places. Just interesting to see how the car has run. We've used, or the range has gone down by 100 miles, but the actual journey was 80 miles. So, you know, we weren't driving very fast. We were pretty slow going most of the time. So that could be a good indicator. That would probably suggest, you know, at 20% that 330 full range is going to be something like 270 in effect. So I'll be doing my planning based on that. But let's go and check out the Flexi Plus, which I always really enjoy. One of the best parts about travelling, this sorted out for us by Peak Retreats, basically means you can get onto any ferry crossing that you want to, but also you can stock up on a load of food and drink before you go. So I'm going to do that now. Right, we're at the first charger at an Air, just down from Calais. I've used the Ionity network. It's a 350 kilowatt charger, and it seemed to be pretty straightforward. I just stuck my credit card details in, plugged it into the car, accepted the payment and started charging. So we'll just fill it up to, I'm not quite sure, probably won't go all the way to 80% because we don't need to go that far. We're only going down to Troyes this evening now, but it's underway and charging's worked first time, so that's good. So this is less good. It's like a classic EV experience. We hooned along at the motorway at 80 and we suddenly realised that we're burning through the miles. We had loads in the tank relative to the distance we needed to travel. We were basically going through them in real miles, about 55% of the range that was in the car, which meant that we've had to stop and charge again. And finding a charger wasn't too difficult, although we had to come off the motorway. We couldn't work out how to find it. We've got in here and we've plugged in again, and another one of the Ionity chargers, and it's charging quite quickly. But you know, we shouldn't have had to stop at all if it was based on the real range. I mean, maybe if we'd planned it, it wouldn't be a problem. But you know, allied to the fact that we had a few delays in the English side trying to get onto Eurotunnel, you know, we're going to get to Troyes this evening, you know, much later than planned. So you know, it's a pain, but it's a learning experience. I mean, you learn if you drive at 80 miles an hour in an electric vehicle, you're going to burn through your miles really quickly. I guess it shouldn't really be a surprise, should it? Another day, another Ionity charger. I got up early this morning. We got into Troyes last night. Not much charge left on the car. We had to do an extra stop, get some more juice in there, got into my Airbnb, and then I got up this morning and came down here to this, the nearest rapid charge. I had a look around Troyes to see if there were any other chargers around. There were, you know, there are chargers all over the place in Troyes, but none of them are fast chargers, and not many of them are fast chargers. It made more sense just to come down here and charge here. So I've just been sitting down here. Kids were still asleep when I left, so by the time I get back, we'll just everyone pile in. That's charging stop 3 today, but we've got a measure of it now. Using the Ionity again, quickest way to get it in there, another 20 minutes here, just to give us enough to make sure we get up to Ladies Alp. Putting a little bit of extra in there because I'm not quite sure how much it will use when we go up the hill to Ladies Alp. But otherwise, it's a better day. It stopped raining and snowing. We've managed to find the chargers. Bit of a hassle to get this one. It's actually on the north bound side of the motorway, so we had to come off, get back on the motorway again, got to go back up. That's one of the sort of things you don't necessarily spot when you stick it into the nav system. But you know, not really that big a deal. I think with an extra maybe 5 minutes, so 10 minutes in total perhaps. Well, we're here in Des Alpes, and that second day was so much better than the first day. The range didn't disappear. We just drove at 70, worked perfectly. And now we're going to go and check into our property here. So, been driving the Mach-E for a week now. Drove it out on the motorway out to Ladies Alp in the French Alps, and then over yesterday from Ladies Alp to Courchevel, which is where I am now, just driving up to do a race. And I guess there's a bunch of you know, key points I would make about it. Firstly, I have a Tesla 3, so I kind of, you know, I'm not new to electric cars. I was expecting a lot of the things. It's very similar to drive in some ways. You know, it's an automatic, has the one pedal control, which means that you know, when you take your foot off the accelerator, you get regenerative braking. So I was expecting that, although I had to turn that on in the Mach-E. It's not a kind of default option on, which it is in the Tesla. I guess the key question that everyone always wants to know is range, and I think with any vehicle, you know, it takes you a while to get to understand the range with an EV. And with our Tesla, you know, we know what the situation is now. The official range is 220, and you know, I know that if we're driving that around, you know, generally you're probably going to get about 190 out of it, something like that. You know, it depends how you drive. If you just drove, you know, really slowly the whole time, you'd get a much bigger range out of it. And the same thing applies to this. The official range is 330. Now, I've driven it in 2 conditions so far, really, which is on the motorway and in the mountains. Now, on the motorway, we started off going far too fast, driving at 80, and that really knocked it down very, very quickly. What I did discover though is, you know, if you're prepared to compromise a little bit and you just drive at 70, then, you know, we were consistently getting about 240, 250 out of that. Now, you know, driving out the Alps the way we were doing it, which is stopping overnight, it meant that we could drive and do 2 quick charging stops, rather than, you know, one really big one or more than that, which actually suited us fine. You know, we could swap around drivers, everyone could get out and stretch their legs. Then in the mountains, that's been really, really interesting. When we left Des Alpes, I think we travelled 30 kilometres before the range started to go down, because going downhill, the regen just added more and more to our range the whole way. Over here in Courchevel, I've been driving up and down. I went over from Latania to Meribel, Latania up to Courchevel 1850 and back down again. And generally, that's kind of coming in at a range of about 250, I would say, something like that, maybe 260. Because, you know, it costs quite a lot to go uphill. Obviously, the demand in terms of power is much higher. But the downhill, again, you add back onto the range. So, you know, I think that's pretty good range driving around the mountains. I mean, 250 miles on a single charge when you're driving up and down roads the whole time. And, you know, it's 2 degrees at the moment. It was a bit warmer when I was driving around yesterday, so that might impact on it a little bit as well. And then my other thoughts, in terms of actually just driving it, you know, it's very smooth, it's very easy to drive, everything's intuitive, where it is, the screen's very easy to use. I actually think it's a big improvement having the screen in a portrait style rather than a landscape style, which is what you have in the Tesla. It's more intuitive like that. It's a lot easier to use, and a lot of the Tesla screen is wasted with the visualization of showing you where the car is relative to other cars, which is pointless, because, you know, you've got eyes. Maybe that's with a view for automated travel in the future, but the Mustang Mach-E is an improvement in that respect. And yeah, very smooth to drive. Obviously, like all electric cars, it's got incredible acceleration, but it's very well kitted out on the inside. It's got Bang & Olufsen speakers. Sound is obviously excellent. Very easy to link up on your phone to via Bluetooth, etc. Calls, and the display is really good. And drill down into any drive and see exactly how you've used your power. You know, what the power has been used on in any particular drive, whether it's gone via acceleration or deceleration or through your speed, or whether it's accessories. You also get, it gives you an indication of what percentage of your power has been used on heating, for example. Climate it's called, isn't it? How much has gone on climate. Which is pretty useful, quite interesting as well. You know, I guess if you were getting, you know, to the thin end, you were running out. Sometimes people drive around, they're always worried about whether they should have their heating on, but this will give you a proper impression. Right, pulling into Courchevel now, looking really beautiful in front of us. I've got to go and park somewhere and register for the race I'm doing.